Welcome to the wonderful world of dance, bringing you exclusive interviews with top dancers and choreographers and reviews of the world's best companies across the globe. You can find lots more on our website at thewonderfulworldofdance.com.
Hi, this is Savannah Saunders from The Wonderful World of Dance, and today I am super thrilled to introduce critically acclaimed British choreographer and contemporary dancer Tom Dale. Tom has danced with the world-famous Matthew Bourne's company, Adventures in Motion Pictures. For those around the UK and around the world, you will know the famous Maywell Swan Lake, which no doubt many of you have seen. But Tom has actually founded his own company, Tom Dale Company, which focuses on combining contemporary dance, electronic music, and the digital arts. Tom is premiering his new project, Step Sonic, with a 10-date UK tour starting on the 27th of October. Step Sonic is an exceptionally innovative piece where the soundscape is created by the dancer's movement. So let's find out more. Hi Tom, thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really pleased you've been able to squeeze us in between rehearsals. So we're going to straight away have a chat about Step Sonic. And if we've got a little bit more time, then we can have a chat a little bit more about yourself. So tell us first of all about Step Sonic from your perspective as the creator.
Okay, so, we've been working on this piece for quite a while. Let's say we did the initial part of the research about 3 years ago, and it's something it's a type of piece or a technique that I've been wanting to work on for a long time, and actually in my choreography I've been doing that anyway over the years. But what we're doing is we're creating live electronic music on stage, but using the dancer's movement as the sound source. So we're aiming to create this kind of concept electronic music album, but making that a really performative experience. And again, like I said, so this is really physicalizing music, I suppose, but like it's using the physical information from the dancers' bodies to create sound, and then we process that live and we turn it into music. So there's a kind of feedback loop, I suppose, which means that the dancers are creating their own score for their own piece of choreography or for their own dance. So it's all one thing. So it's pretty tough. It's tough to make, but it's fun to make because it's all one thing. Because I guess when I've been choreographing for years, I've been always making sound effects with my voice to vocalize a dynamic or to emphasize a dynamic, to communicate something to a dancer about how something's done. And now it's kind of now you're actually getting that real feedback of what the sound effect is for your movement, and you're choreographing or making up movement. If you're the dancer, you're choreographing yourself, but you're making it from the perspective of the sound that you're creating. So it's a really different perspective, because it just takes away it's not so heavily important on the visual impact, although that's important because people will be watching it. But choreographing from the perspective of composing is kind of a unique thing. And then also we're composing from the perspective of making movement. So it's like spinning them both around and making them intertwine. And how does the music world and the dance world, how do we make this, dance music, basically?
And I was watching the video of the creation, and it really seems like you've got, you can see how the dancers, when they move, it actually creates sound. And when they breathe into the microphone, it creates sound. And their dance seems to be informed by the sound and reacting to the sound and making the sound, is how it sort of seemed to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. You would have seen the research that we did like 3 years ago, I think. So that was really prototyping various kind of amplified spaces, but we've honed all of that work down into like a really exciting sort of playground of possibilities that we've created for these dancers.
And how many sort of microphones, or how has it sort of worked in terms of that 3-year development to create this exciting piece?
I'd love to be developing it for 3 years, but in reality, it's kind of 3 years of thought, but not 3 years of rehearsals, unfortunately. We basically are using contact microphones everywhere. As well as traditional microphones like shotgun microphones. But it's the way that we are processing all of the sound through various software and sequencing programs and everything that the really clever bit of the work is done. But we've also sort of tested lots of different materials to work with, from steel to different types of wood, and how they resonate as well has been important. And then also how we're contacting all of the amplified spaces, whether it's with bare feet or socks or shoes, or when we use objects on it as well. So everything has a sound property, and we've just been looking for some good ones, I suppose.
And what has the feedback from the dancers been who've gone through this process and performing the work? Instantly they love it. They can see the possibilities, and there's like an instant gratification for the dancers when they move in these spaces, because their movement is amplified, and then it's kind of like they're singing but with their bodies in a way. Yeah.
And it's a really beautiful experience. But then to actually craft with it and structure and make things so that everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and sort of to work everything out in the arc of a performance, that's all the really difficult stuff. So the feedback from the dancers is that they love it, but it's not easy, actually.
No, I can imagine. And what was your inspiration behind this piece and your sort of company in terms of bringing dance and specific electronic music and the digital arts together?
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that I've always been involved in. So right from when electronic music kicked off, 20, 30 years ago, it was a massive reason for me getting into dance and dancing and everything myself. So it's always been there, and I've always made music with composers for my work, and sat in, generally kind of either got them to come into our studio, or more often sat in their studio and made music with them. So it's kind of a natural progression that I want to actually get to make the music from the perspective of dance, and really offer something back to the electronic music world, because we've taken so much from it in terms of the sort of developing aesthetics of movement over the last 20 years. I think music's played a massive part in that development of aesthetics, and away from the sort of neoclassical world, which was what I came into coming out of college, and really wanted to be a part of kind of changing those aesthetics. And we used music more than anything, I suppose, to do that.
And tell us about some of those collaborations that you've mentioned in terms of working with the different musicians, and particularly I'm interested also in sort of, are there a range of different types of electronic music? I know obviously that in the UK, electronic music is such a broad definition when there's such specialisms within that niche. My husband's a electronic producer, and he would kill me by saying, one blanket electronic music.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but tell us about those collaborations,
I think we're more inspired by the sort of, you call it probably bass music these days, but we love loads of different types of music, from reggae to hip hop to drum and bass to classical music. We're a broad. It's a broad church, as people would say these days. But we are. I guess we kind of focus on the sort of bass music end of electronic music at the moment. So looking at dubstep, looking at hip hop rhythms. We're looking at drum and bass rhythms, and we're making a very slow house track as well. So we're kind of making quite a few different tracks within that, in the ballpark of bass music, I suppose. But it's all highly experimental.
And the digital arts,
we don't know what we're going to get just yet.
Oh, which is even more exciting when you don't actually quite know what the outcome's going to be.
Exactly, yeah.
And with the digital arts, and I've noticed, obviously with some of your work, you've used a lot of lighting in the past, and
sure.
And how has that sort of been brought into this piece? Is that an element, or?
We're leaving that other visual element behind in this piece, for one piece, let's say. I think that there's every possibility to engage with a visual digital art in this piece, but we just don't have the resources currently to pursue that. Although I think in time it will all come together. But for this piece of work and this experiment, I need to really focus down on the music language and the movement language together, and to have another visual medium thrown into that, I think would distract everything at the moment. So we need to do a whole bunch of learning on this first before we bring that other medium back in, I think.
And you mentioned that this is quite a difficult piece to perform and to create. What was the sort of your creative process when you went into producing this work?
Well, as I said, we're learning all the time and experimenting, and that is exactly what we're kind of trying to hone down, because we're right in the middle of rehearsals right now. Actually, we've got a few weeks to go. So there is, depends where you start. So you could start from it's kind of a very organic process of just experimenting and seeing what sounds good and looks good at the same time, and then following that line of progression. So you might just start with a movement idea in an amplified space, but then it's just letting that be a seed, let's say, and there's loads of techniques and methods to then let that seed grow, but there's many, because we're kind of treating this as like an album of many different pieces. Then each one has a different methodology as to how it was made. So it's there's not one way basically, and we're searching out which way we might prefer or not at the moment.
That's quite an unusual way to describe a piece of work, isn't it? An album. That's not something I've really heard before, which obviously has the musical influence there. It is a really interesting way to describe it, and gives you a sense of it will be sort of snippets of pieces potentially. Is that what the audiences can expect to see?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's more like it'll be more. Stepsonic will be more like an episodic piece, so different tracks. At the moment, that's how we're seeing it, rather than we could easily do sort of like one long sort of soundscape of a world, and that would have a different feel to it. But at the moment, we are just focusing on, as I said, trying different methodologies, different rhythms, different tempos, and creating different tracks. But I think where we'd like to push it is a more kind of open-ended 30-minute soundscape where we're dropping into different rhythms and textures, but not quite there yet. But, I think we will be in the future.
Yes,
that way.
It sounds absolutely fascinating, and I love it. It's so innovative as well. It sounds really quite unique. What are you hoping audiences take away from seeing the work?
I just want them to be excited by the possibilities. It's new. I think it's something that people have probably imagined could happen, or maybe not. But I feel it's like it's there, and it's the technology is available, and it's just ripe and ready to go. And I feel like it will just, like, we've worked with quite a lot of young people in the research, and and I think we'll just change the way that people start to view movement. That they'll start to view it from the perspective of its musicality as well, and appreciate the kind of inherent physicality and musicality in a dancer's body. And there's a kind of so much hidden information in that that we want to push it out, and hopefully people will appreciate it, because dancers aren't musicians, but there is a lot of music, sort of tremendous sort of musical talent in dancers' body that's kind of untapped, if you like, because they've got such a dynamic range of movement, and that's why a dancer could get injured quite easily. Say an athlete might have to be purely explosive, and that's one range of movement, but a dancer needs to be able to be, super soft and subtle and explosive and everything in between. And that's why there's a high possibility for injury in the dancer's body, but that's why they're beautiful instruments to work with in a way, because they've got such a range of dynamic range. And in their movements. So it's really trying to harness that and allow people to see the possibilities and that range of movement and appreciate it, I suppose.
Honestly, this work sounds so fantastic. I can't wait to see it myself. Have you got time for one last question?
Go for it.
I was just going to. You mentioned there about working with younger people and new technologies, and I'm just interested in what you feel is the future of bringing more new technologies into the dance world and having it as part of continuing of the development of creations of work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all natural. It's as long as it's not just put on for the sake of it. As long as it's genuinely worked in a experimental and investigative and intuitive ways, then it can be great. And as long as it's not hindering whatever you want to do, I'm all for it. Obviously. I just think it's a natural progression that artists combine with new technologies. That we can't stop ourselves wanting to do it. I think so. So it's going to happen, and you want it to happen. So I'm all for it.
The future of dance may be AI with dancers. Let's see where we end up. Hey, sounds great.
Let's see where we end up. But doing dance is such a wonderful thing, and lots more people are getting involved with physics. Dance is another one of those, but it's something that everybody can do and everybody can engage in, and the better we can share it, the better.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for talking about Stepsonic. And for just a reminder, there's 10-day UK tour starting from the 27th of October. And to find out all of the locations and dates, you can go to Tom's website, tomdale.org.uk, and also check out on Facebook as well, which is Tom Dale Company. Thank you so much. Yes, say something.
You're welcome. I just should say that as that's the first part of the evening, and as the second part, we're touring three solos. One's by a solo that I've choreographed on one of the dancers, and then there's another one by Alicia Drennan, and another one by Jamal Berkmar. These are both two young, great choreographers that we put an open call out to work with, and they've each choreographed a solo for one of the company dancers. So the second half of the evening is these three solos, which accompanies the Stepsonic piece.
Yes, I'm so glad you reminded me about the other two pieces, and we've had
all right. So,
we've had a chat with Jamal previously, so it'd be great. Looking forward to seeing his work as well as an up and coming choreographer.
He's done a great piece, really fresh, really lovely. Yeah,
fantastic, great stuff. Well, thank you very much, and I'll let you get back to your rehearsals.
You're welcome. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe. We've got some incredible interviews coming up with principal ballerinas and renowned choreographers. We love dance and ballet, and we hope you'll love us. Join us on Facebook and Twitter.